Welcome to the State of Play series. This is Volume 1. In Volume 1, we're going to be talking about single sport athletes versus multi-sport athletes, kind of the benefits and the drawbacks between the two. One of the big topics going around lately is, should my child play one sport and stay specialized, or should they play multiple sports? We're going to be looking at three specific things as it relates to kind of comparing the two. We're going to be looking at injury, we're going to be looking at mental status, and we're going to be looking at skill building. So let's just kind of start right at the top. When it comes to single sport athlete versus dual sport athlete, if you're a specialized single sport athlete, you are somewhere between 80 and 120% more likely to sustain injury than a dual sport athlete. Why is that? Well, here at the facility, we've seen this happen many times. When you're a single sport athlete, you're very specialized, which means that you're doing the same repetition over and over and over and over again. You might have practices 3-4 times a week, games on the weekends, and a lot of times you're playing year round. So with that, you're getting micro trauma to different parts of the body, and then over time, you're gonna, sustain injuries. We see this a lot with golf. We see it with soccer, especially it's high in baseball, where kids are playing all year round, and they're just overusing those specific parts of the body, especially, as they're growing. The second big thing we're looking at is mental status. When you're doing something over and over and over, year after year, as you can imagine, it wears on your mental, especially if you're playing at a high level, not having that rest period, not having that time where you're kind of like playing a different sport and focusing on something different to kind of refresh the body and the mind. You have breakdown there. So what we see with that is we see kids that are specialized, we're seeing a high level of either dropping out later or their performance is decreasing and declining, as time goes on. The third thing is if you're playing multiple sports versus specializing in a single sport, those additional sports are helping you skill build. I mean, you're using different muscles, different parts of the body. You're having to control your body in different ways to complete the task. So with that said, those three top things, everything really trends towards multi-sport athletes, and that being a better decision to make. Also, coaches at the Division I, Division II level, a lot of times will look for a multi-sport athlete more than they would an athlete that's specialized. Now, with that said, it's pretty clear from those three topics and from what we see at the facility here that being a multi-sport athlete is healthier, better to prevent injury. Coaches love it. However, with today's youth sports climate, playing two sports, and depending on the two sports that you play, can almost be impossible. And what do I mean by that? Well, back in the day when I kind of came up, and probably most of you parents, you played a sport specific on the time of year. When it's basketball season, you're playing basketball. When it's football or baseball season, you're playing football or baseball, and so forth and so on. Now, with high-level play, with travel sports, all these types of things, you're playing year-round, and it's almost impossible to play an additional sport because of the time that you're having to commit to that sport. You have practices after school, games on weekends, it kind of goes all year round. So how can you fit in two things, as well as your academics? So in today's climate, it can be very difficult to play two sports. So what do? If you know you have a higher risk of injury, if you know your mental status is not as good as if you're playing multiple sports, if you know that you're not building skills, different skills outside of your sport, how can you go about making all that good? So here at the facility at FAST, we work with kids all the time that are in this position where they're having to specialize, and like I said, in soccer, baseball, whatever. We basically can train you and prevent a lot of the injuries. So what that means, like you're having micro tears, overuse injuries in certain parts of the body. We're going in and we're keying on those other parts of the body, strengthening those areas, giving break to the other spots, and we're building you up kind of from the ground up, so to speak. We are kind of cross-training you in that same kind of something similar to what you would be getting if you played an additional sport. For instance, we have golfers that have back injuries, and it's because they rotate on one side over and over and over again. So we'll go in and we'll work on the other side. We have baseball players, same thing with shoulder injuries. We have all types of athletes, soccer players, hip and ankle, knee injuries, same thing. So by strengthening the body, by doing body and balance control drills, by doing resistance training, by doing all the things that we do here at the facility, we can all but eliminate that high chance you have of injury by playing a single sport. That takes us to the mental status. So when you're doing something over and over and over again, you do need that break, but sometimes that break might not be you just not playing. Coming here to the facility or a facility, you're going to get someone who's working with your child, who's helping them build confidence, who's doing different drills and skills, and it's kind of supplementing that for that second sport, which is going to make them mentally a little healthier, let them be relaxed more, do some different activities, do some different drills, so it's not the same repetitive nature that kind of breaks down the mental status. The last one, skill building. Same thing. If you're building skill in another sport, at the Performance Training Center, you're going to build skill here by doing various things. It could be ball skill work. It could be hand-eye coordination drills. It could be body and balance control drills that we do here. We work a lot with tidal tanks, which are basically water capsules that we use to create stability in the body. We train on the Vertimax. We do all these different things that are going to build different skills than they would get in that specific sport. So, just to recap, we know that you have a higher risk of injury if you play a single sport, anywhere between 80 and 120%. You have a higher level of burnout and mental fatigue. You have a lower level of being able to build other skills outside of the sport that you're playing. So by doing performance training and coming to our facility or a facility like ours, you can give your athlete, a big leg up on the competition, make sure they're staying healthy, make sure they're staying happy, and that's going to lead to much better performance on the field or on the court or whatever sports you play. So so check that out. There's an article attached to this. You can read the article, and we hope that you found this information interesting. And if you want to learn more, give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd be glad to talk to you about it and kind of give you some insight on what we're seeing. Thank you.